This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Welcome to our flower series. In this video, we're going to be making buttercream pansies. We'll cover the whole process step by step, so you can rewind, skip ahead, and rewatch as desired. So let's get started making the colors for our pansies. We're going to be using American or simple style buttercream, but you can use whatever kind you want. We are going to use several shades of food coloring. First off, violet, then some royal blue, and finally just a little bit of lemon yellow. So we're going to start with a nice dark kind of midnight purple. So we want to start with some big drops of our violet, if it'll cooperate and come out. 5, 6, I'm just going to give it 6. And 2 of my blue. And we'll mix this around and check out our color because we want it to be nice and deep, but we don't want it to be too dark. Adding some blue to your purples is a great way to change them up and give them a different feel, a different tone. And you can switch up between things like royal and sky to just give it a little bit of a different feel. And that's looking lovely. I think we just need to take it a little more purple. And that's going to give us a beautiful kind of midnight purple. It's a color I associate with like Halloween and kind of like nighttime fall skies. So that's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a nice, intense, dark shade for the middle of our pansies. The next color we're going to make is going to be kind of medium tone periwinkle. So we're going to use our purple. So we've got some violet out and some royal blue and just toothpicks to deliver it so we can control the amount a little better because we want a nice color, but we don't want it to be too dark. So I'm just going to start out with some nice big specks of purple. And just a little bit of blue. So we're kind of mimicking the ratio that we did in our other darker purple, but just making a lighter shade. And especially with the lighter tones, sometimes the blue tends to show through more and gives you a bit more of a blue tone with it. So I like where this is going and the value. I think I'm just going to add a little more purple to it. There we go. Sometimes I find with purple it needs just a little bit more than some of the other colors. So there we have a beautiful kind of light to medium tone. It's right there in between shade of periwinkle that's going to pair nicely with that darker purple we made before. And the final color we're going to make is some yellow. So I've just got my lemon yellow and I'm going to start with 1 drop. And I think that should be enough. We want to make a nice shade of yellow that's going to give us some beautiful contrast against those purples we made and allow us to do a beautiful little center, make some kind of like pollen, the little kind of stamens they have there in the middle. And I think that is going to be just perfect. So I have a nice yellow, it's kind of bright, clear, kind of lemony shade, and you can see it's going to give us some beautiful contrast against those purples. So it's going to be wonderful and it should hold up nicely. And those are the 3 colors we're going to use to make our pansies. So let's talk about the bags and tips we're going to use to create our pansy. We have two 12-inch disposable decorating bags. One we have fitted with a number 2 tip. So just a plain round tip of a small size. If you've got a 1 or a 3, those would work as well. And we have it loaded up with just a little bit of our yellow. The second we have fitted with a 104 tip. So you can see it's that nice wonderful size of straight petal tip that we use for a lot of things. And we have it loaded up with all 3 colors. And I have the tip oriented so that that dark purple is close to the fat end of the opening. There's some yellow stripe there in the middle, and our lighter periwinkle color is on the outside edge. And this is going to give us some darkness at the center of those petals. It's going to make it look nice and deep, and then when we do our little stamen, it's going to help it pop off, and it's going to give us some of that lighter color and stripe across the yellow in a really beautiful, natural way. So it's going to give us a lovely effect for our pansies. And those are the bags and tips that we're going to use for this flower. So let's talk about the techniques that we're going to use to create our pansy. The first thing we're going to do with our 104 tip is we're going to make 2 large round petals. So we're just going to basically make a circle on the nail. And it might be a little hard to do right here on our tray, but basically we're just going to take it and rotate, right? Oh, so that we get a nice circular petal. And it's a little easier to do on the nail because all you have to do is spin. The second thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make some teardrop shaped petals. And these are those classic shaped petals where we've got the fat end towards the center, the skinny end out. We're just up off the surface and we're gonna pull out, rotate, and pull back. And that's gonna give us that nice classic elongated teardrop shape. So we want large and round and elongated and teardrop. And then finally, we're going to do what I call a ruffle wave. So we're just going to pull out, ruffle back and forth to fill up that last little bit of area. And that's going to give us a nice ruffly kind of flat looking petal at the bottom. That's that one large petal that pansies have. And then finally, we're going to do a nice little loop with a number 2 tip. So this is just a line, and we're just going to start by touching the surface, pick up, draw a nice little teardrop shape, and then touch back down to end it. And you can see those are the 3 techniques we're going to use for our pansy, and we're going to have these nice different shaped petals that are going to create that flower. So let's talk about how you use the techniques we just went over to build your blossom. When you think about pansies, you want to think about this top area taking up about 2/3 and that bottom petal taking up the last third. So really we want to take up about half the space on our flower nail with those 2 big, large, round petals. And we're going to do them, we're going to make one and then do a second one overlapping it. And it doesn't matter which side, you can kind of actually vary that up and change the look of your pansies a little bit. So we're just going to do one circle up over kind of like the top left quarter and then one in that top right, and we're going to make them big enough so that they overlap. Think a little bit like a Venn diagram. And then on top of those and kind of overlapping, I like to do it at a slight upward angle. I'm going to do those 2 teardrop shaped petals. So they're almost going to form a little bit of a V, and they're going to overlap the bottom of those large round ones. And together, this is going to take about 2/3 of the area of our flower nail. Once we have those 2 teardrop shaped petals in, I usually spin my nail so that this part is now facing me and that open back area is now away from me, so that it's easy for me to just pop that nice ruffle in there. And I want it to overlap the edges of the teardrop shaped petals a little bit in the center, but I also want to make sure I leave that kind of characteristic gap on the outside of the edge of the petals. They always kind of have a little bit of space, a little negative space over there, and that kind of gives them their characteristic look and feel. You don't want all the petals to merge together and kind of create a nice circle. You want to create this kind of almost like boxy shape with it. And then to finish it off, we're going to make that little loop with our number 2 right there in the center where all those petals meet up. So now that we've discussed our techniques, gone over how we're putting them together, let's pull out our flower nail and give it a practice. So we're getting ready to pipe our pansies on our flower nail, and I just want to show you what I do with my parchment. I just have a nice big square, I divide it in half, I've made a little line with my Sharpie, and so that I don't have to worry about that transferring to my flowers, I'm just going to go ahead and flip it over. But what you can see that that does is it gives me a nice visual division, and you can do this, you can mark the bottom sides of your papers. It makes it really easy then to help divide up those areas. So if that's still something that's difficult for you, judging the amount of space and how much room your petals take up, it's a nice little trick. It gives you a lovely little visual guide, and I know I want to make my nice big round petals that I'm going to do first take up that top area, and that's going to be a good indication that I'm on the right track with the proportions of my flower. So now that we've got ourselves set up with our paper, we're going to take our 104, and we're not going to start quite in the center for this one. We're going to start a little over to one side, so just pick whichever petal you want to do first, whether it's the left one or the right one. And I'm just going to start lined up. You can see the back of the bag's pointing up. And I'm just going to do a nice little spin. So when you spin, you're going to get this big, beautiful petal. It's nice. There we go. Round, flat. You can see that's got a beautiful shape to it. And then we're going to do a second one. And we're going to do the same thing where we're off to the side a little bit, this time off to the right side. We're going to spin around and make another one. And that's going to overlap the one on the left. And give us a nice, big, flat, rounded petal there. You can see it kind of overlaps that one. We're getting a nice look to our pansy. The next thing we're going to do are our little teardrop shaped petals. So we're going to start here in the middle. If you got a little buildup, you can always take it down a little bit to make it easier. So I'm just going to start there in the middle of those two petals, so it's kind of right there in the center. And I'm just going to pull a teardrop shape at a slight angle, right, so that it's overlapping. And you can see I'm already starting to get that look and feel of a pansy. For whatever reason, my yellow has disappeared a little bit. It looks like it's on the back, but it's giving me a beautiful and lovely design, so not to worry. Now I'm going to spin it around like I talked about before when we were talking about these techniques, and I'm going to put that ruffly wave in there. I want it to kind of overlap and touch with some of these petals that are up there on the top, and I want to leave a little gap over here on this outside edge. So I want to make sure that I'm getting that spacing right. So you can see we've got a nice look to our pansy. We've got a little gap on the outside edge. We've got those beautiful overlapping petals, and I'm going to go in and just make that little loop right there in the center to finish it off. And we have a wonderful, beautiful little buttercream pansy. So now that we've practiced on our nail, let's practice on a cupcake. And we're going to do the same thing where we think about this space as if it's divided into quarters, and we're going to pipe one petal on that upper left and one on the upper right to start. Nice, big, round petals that join together and overlap. And it's a little bit trickier on a cupcake where you have to kind of do the spinning yourself. So take your time, but you can do these directly on cakes or you can do them on your flower nail and transfer them over. And then we're going to pipe those nice little teardrop shapes kind of up, overlapping those first big round petals. Beautiful. And I'm going to spin it around and do that ruffle in there in the bottom. So just nice little ruffle. And just leave a little bit of a gap on each side so you get that nice, beautiful, characteristic shape to your little pansies. And I find that little bit of yellow in the center for that pollen or stamen always really makes them pop. And you can see I've got just a little bit of the yellow threading into my petals right now, and it gives us a lovely, nice, natural look to our pansies. It's easy to finish these off on a cupcake with a couple of quick leaves, and you have a nice, fully covered surface area then.
If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecorating.school.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.